Hello, I'm Anime Dreams. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Today's fanfiction topic is exploring a hypothetical scenario, if Deku possessed Chakra? Part 2. Disclaimer: the content presented on this channel is intended solely for entertainment and discussion. I want to clarify that I do not claim ownership of any anime footage featured in my videos. All rights and acknowledgements belong to their original creators and copyright holders. Now, let's delve into the story. Izuku found himself grappling with a maelstrom of emotions regarding the circumstances he found himself in. On one hand, conversing with Present Mike filled him with an exhilarating sense of joy as the hero graciously elucidated aspects of his quirk that Izuku had queried about. On the other hand, his intervention in a skirmish between heroes and villains had entangled him in a web of legal ambiguity. His unorthodox methods had halted a criminal, albeit in a manner that skirted the bounds of legality. Now, seated in the precinct's cafeteria, Izuku mused, "At least I'm spared the confines of a cell," preparing to furnish his testimony regarding the altercation. Lost in thought, he failed to discern Present Mike's lapse into silence, the hero's mournful gaze evading his notice. "I am indebted to you, young listener," Present Mike began, his voice laden with emotion. "Shota, my dearest comrade, holds honesty as his lodestar. Thus, when he attested to your role in saving his life, I could do naught but believe him." He paused, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Accept, I beseech you, my profound gratitude." "Ah! I implore you, Present Mike-san, raise your countenance. Your gratitude surpasses my humble deeds," Izuku stammered, his cheeks ablaze with embarrassment. "I merely rejoice in my capacity to aid." Compliments discomfited him, a fact exacerbated by his fervent desire to secure admission to the hero course. "Fret not, young listener," Present Mike exclaimed, a fervent declaration punctuated by a triumphant gesture. "I vow, upon the honor of myself and Eraserhead, that your heroism shall not serve as a stumbling block on your path to becoming a hero. Indeed, in my eyes, you already possess the essence of one." "I admire your eloquence, Mike-san," Izuku murmured, his voice tinged with bashfulness. "However, I must attend to," his sentence trailed off as Detective Naomasa Tsukuchi, clad in a trench coat and hat, materialized, engrossed in a sheaf of documents. I am Midoriya Izuku, sir," he announced, his posture rigid with trepidation. "Fear not, Midoriya, this shan't detain us long," Naomasa reassured him, his attention fixed on the paperwork. "Let us commence with the formalities. According to this document, you are 13 years of age, correct?" "Yes, sir, on the cusp of 14, sir," Izuku affirmed, his nerves palpable. Naomasa and Mike shared a knowing chuckle at his visible disquiet. "Relax, kid. Now, according to Eraserhead's account, you materialized just as he was overpowered, wielding knives against the perpetrator?" Naomasa inquired, arching an eyebrow pointedly. "Yes, sir, those were my kunai and shurikens, utilized in honing my marksmanship skills. I intend to employ them as supportive implements upon admission to the hero course, sir," Izuku replied, his brow beaded with perspiration. Naomasa nodded in acknowledgement. "Okay, next inquiry, what brought you so far from the urban center? According to records, you reside in a Mustafu apartment complex. You seemed quite distant from your usual whereabouts." Izuku shifted uneasily in his chair. "Well, I was engaged in training, engaged in some running exercises. I decided to extend my limits a bit, which led me there." Izuku noticed Detective Naomasa's scrutinizing gaze. "Midoriya, I shouldn't divulge this, but my quirk entails detecting falsehoods." Izuku's eyes widened. "So, care to offer another explanation?" After a brief pause, Izuku blushed. "I was attempting to capture a small amphibian," he admitted softly, observing the detective's perplexed expression. "My mentor occasionally sends amphibians to monitor my progress. This particular one is mischievous, often spitting water at me. I sought to apprehend it for a lesson, but it proved elusive." Naomasa's expression remained quizzical until Present Mike interjected, "Is he being truthful?" "Yes, his account," though peculiar, checks out, the detective confirmed, scratching his head. So, you were in pursuit of a small amphibian when you encountered the culprit, Brick. Present Mike chuckled at the moniker. When did you decide to intervene? After the amphibian eluded me, Izuku grumbled, his cheeks flushing. I witnessed Brick assaulting a racerhead, and I couldn't stand by. Very well, I must express gratitude because, as a racerhead attested, if not for your intervention, Present Mike interjected once more, it's true, now Masa, and you know it. Izuku noticed Present Mike's clenched fist. Right, a racerhead mentioned that you acted with his explicit consent, now Masa nodded. Officers reported that you fervently requested we refrain from contacting your mother. My mother tends to fret excessively, and her tear ducts are exceptionally active. I sought to spare her unnecessary distress, Izuku explained earnestly, observing Naomasa's raised eyebrow. Indeed, we had to notify her, but we assured her of your well-being and that her presence wasn't necessary, Naomasa informed him. Now, just two more queries. First, officers noted that you adamantly pleaded against involving your mother. My mom is prone to anxiety, and she has an extraordinary capacity for tears. I simply wish to prevent a potential flood at the police station, Izuku admitted, his head lowered. Naomasa chuckled softly before posing his final question. To conclude, I have a query regarding your quirk. Izuku struggled to contain his nerves. Records indicate it as energy manipulation, yet I'm puzzled by your ability to create barriers from surfaces or traverse walls, as Eraserhead's testimony suggests. Ah, that's easily explained. Izuku replied with forced cheerfulness. Those are facets of my abilities. I can channel my energy into my extremities to adhere to surfaces, and I create barriers by infusing my inner energy into the surroundings. Now Masa and Present Mike looked stunned. Well, your quirk appears quite versatile. That will suffice for the case at hand, now Masa concluded, eliciting a sigh of relief from Izuku. Now, regarding your weaponry. Izuku tensed once more. We need to discuss that. It's stated that you're authorized to utilize them for training purposes, he remarked, perusing the document spread out on the table. However, employing sharp implements poses significant risks and should be restricted to individuals affiliated with a hero academy. Mishandling them could lead to severe harm. Another voice chimed in, considering the brief demonstration he provided, it's evident that he possesses considerable proficiency with those implements, now Masa. Such expertise is only attained through extensive practice. The only plausible scenario where these weapons might cause harm is if used with malicious intent, which hasn't occurred. Aizawa turned his gaze towards Izuku. How long have you been training with these implements? Izuku noted the subtle shift in terminology from weapons to tools. Approximately 7 years, sir. How many incidents are documented in these papers over the past 5 years, now Masa? None, but that doesn't eliminate the potential risk, Aizawa countered, narrowing his eyes as he retrieved something from his pocket. My shurikens. Catch, Midoriya. He tossed them to Izuku, who expertly caught them. Aizawa then fetched 4 plates from the kitchen. I want you to utilize your shurikens to obliterate these targets. Are you prepared? Before Izuku could fully process, Aizawa hurled the plates into the air. Izuku swiftly assessed his targets and launched both shurikens in a sweeping arc. As the arc closed, 2 plates exploded upon impact. The shurikens then collided, ricocheting towards the remaining targets, reducing them to pieces. Now Masa and Present Mike watched in astonishment. As you can see, now Masa, I afforded the kid minimal time to react, yet he successfully hit all the targets. That should suffice as evidence of his training and capability to avoid causing harm unintentionally, Aizawa remarked, acknowledging Izuku's skill. Indeed, I can see that. Very well then, that concludes our discussion, now Masa conceded, addressing Izuku. Once again, thank you, Midoriya, for aiding Eraserhead, but try not to make it a habit, he added, to which Izuku nodded respectfully. Thank you, detective, and I'll cover the cost of the plates, Izuku offered. The detective chuckled, no need to fret, Midoriya. I'll deduct it from Aizawa's payment. With that, the detective departed. That was phenomenal, young listener. Present Mike exclaimed. How did you pull off such a feat? It seemed almost impossible. Izuku scratched his head bashfully. Lots of practice, actually. My mentor had me trained similarly, he replied, reminiscing about his sensei, the old toad. He must be an exceptional teacher, Present Mike remarked approvingly. Indeed, he's the finest, Izuku affirmed, retrieving his shurikens and approaching Eraserhead. Thank you for speaking on my behalf, Eraserhead-san, he expressed his gratitude with a bow. I promise to shield you from the heat, Aizawa replied, handing Izuku his notebook. These are quite remarkable notes you've compiled, Midoriya. Izuku's eyes lit up with excitement. You really think so? Yes, indeed. Would you mind if I made a copy for myself? It sparked a few ideas, Aizawa requested. Izuku eagerly nodded. Oh, please, I'd be honored. After making copies of Eraserhead's and Present Mike's entries, both bid farewell to Izuku. I understand if you're weary of hearing it, Midoriya, but I genuinely appreciate your rescue, Izuku expressed with a wide grin. Are you certain you won't let us escort you home? No, please, there's no need. He clutched his notebook tightly. You've already done so much for me, I wouldn't want to burden you further. Eraserhead acknowledged him with a nod, then deftly maneuvered himself and Mike with his capture scarf, disappearing over a nearby building. Izuku beamed as he watched the hero's impressive departure and hugged his notebook once more. Having two pro heroes' autographs feels surreal. I can't wait to share this with my mom. Glancing around to ensure privacy, he whispered, Hiraishin. And vanished in a flash of green light. Meanwhile, several buildings away, Eraserhead observed Midoriya through binoculars, only to see him vanish in an instant. You really do attract trouble, he remarked with a smirk. So let me get this straight. You didn't anticipate your mom's reaction after tangling with a villain, being questioned by the police, and arriving home late? Kirishima inquired. Kirishima Eijiro, one of the two people Izuku considered friends, had insisted on befriending him shortly after he transferred schools. Initially hesitant, Izuku soon realized that having Kirishima in his life was inevitable. Now, 7 years later, he couldn't imagine a better friend. It does sound rather foolish when you put it like that, Kirishima, Izuku admitted as they walked through the school grounds after classes. It's pretty reckless, Midoribro. I'm surprised the cops didn't call your mom themselves, Kirishima remarked. I pleaded with them not to. Imagine the scene my mom would make at the police station. The principal's office is probably still flooded from the last time she got good news. Izuku exclaimed, gesturing animatedly. Yeah, your mom must have a crying quirk or something. It's impossible to shed that many tears and not dehydrate. Kirishima joked, prompting a chuckle from Izuku. The best part is I scored 2 more autographs in my notebook. I wish I could have chatted longer with them, imagine the stories they could have shared. Izuku's eyes sparkled with excitement. Only you would prioritize collecting autographs over defeating villains, Kirishima teased, giving Izuku a playful punch. But hey, now you've got more field experience than me. You'll make an amazing hero, Kirishima. Flashiness aside, you've got what it takes, Izuku reassured him, acknowledging Kirishima's true strength. And you'll always be the shield that keeps everyone safe. Kirishima grinned, grateful for Izuku's unwavering support. And of course, you'll protect your pink princess, right? Regretting his playful jab, Kirishima playfully ruffled Izuku's hair, trying to hide his blush. I have no idea what you're talking about. You're imagining things, you little green troublemaker. He exclaimed, rubbing Izuku's head as they continued their banter. What do my golden eyes behold? A tormentor. Cease, Kirishima. A rosy streak materialized beside them, gently reprimanding Kirishima, who turned even redder and raised his hands in surrender. Kirishima, do you realize how challenging it is to manage my hair? Why would you do that? Izuku greeted the newcomer, Ashido Mina, from his year's other class, a vibrant personality he considered a true friend, unlike most of his classmates. Ashido-san, thank you for rescuing me from this bully's clutches. Izuku admired Ashido's courage, appreciating her staunch opposition to bullies, a quality he valued deeply. No worries, Midori, it's all part of being a hero. Ashido struck a heroic pose. Besides, I'm destined to be the feared alien queen, the future #1 hero in the world. Are you still set on that name? I thought Midoribro had talked you out of it, Kirishima remarked, his blush fading slightly. True, Midori does make compelling arguments, but I'm attached to the name. When villains hear it, they'll tremble in fear and surrender before my acid. Ashido exclaimed, mimicking acid sounds for effect. I did try to change her mind, but she's as stubborn as your quirk, Kirishima. There's only so much I can do, Izuku added with a grin as they continued their banter on their way out of school. As they neared the exit, Kirishima's gaze fixed on someone outside the gates, prompting Izuku's curiosity. Can you describe the hero you assisted last night, Midoribro? Kirishima inquired, prompting Izuku to recount the hero's appearance, including black attire, a utility belt, long hair, tired eyes, distinctive yellow goggles, and a lengthy white scarf. Why do you ask? Izuku wondered, following Kirishima's gaze to see Eraserhead approaching them. What did you do, Midoribro? Kirishima whispered anxiously. What's happening? Ashido queried, unaware of the previous night's events. Eraserhead overheard their conversation and approached. Midoriya, apologies for the unannounced visit, but I need you to accompany me. Your mother has given her consent, Eraserhead informed him, gesturing towards a waiting taxi. Is Midoriya being whisked away with parental approval? Ashido's imagination ran wild, but Izuku trusted the pro-hero. No need to fret, Ashido-san. He's a professional hero, he won't abduct me. Right? Izuku sought reassurance from Eraserhead, whose eye twitched. Of course not, Midoriya. Now, come along. We have matters to discuss, Eraserhead directed, leading Izuku towards the taxi. Izuku bid farewell to his friends before whispering a parting message to Kirishima. It seems I won't be walking with you today. Take care, and ensure she reaches her castle safely, he whispered, prompting another blush from Kirishima, who attempted to detain him to no avail. That rascal. Kirishima muttered under his breath. What? What did he say? Ashido inquired, her head tilted in confusion. Don't worry, Ashido, it's nothing to concern yourself with. Let's head home, Kirishima reassured her. But what about him saving a hero? What were you discussing? Ashido persisted, her concern for her friends evident despite her playful demeanor. I'll fill you in as we walk. Come on, Kirishima replied, a smirk playing on his lips, though his thoughts were consumed by thoughts of revenge against the Green Trader. Izuku approached the car, opening the door on the opposite side from Eraserhead. Where are we headed, Eraserhead-san? He inquired. My superior is eager to speak with you. We're going to you. Eraserhead replied. You, Izuku exclaimed, his eyes widening in realization. We're heading to you. Exclaimed Izuku. But why? I've already given my statement to the authorities, and my mom has spoken her mind. Am I in trouble with you? Or something? You're not in trouble, Midoriya. Remember when I asked you for a copy of my profile from your notebook? Izuku nodded, his eyes widening with concern. I'm not in trouble for that, am I? I swear it's just a hobby, and all the information I gather is from online posts, videos, and the occasional live fights. As I said, you're not in trouble, Eraserhead sighed. On the contrary, I showed my superior your analysis of me, and he was impressed. He wants to meet you. Izuku visibly relaxed at that. Oh, nice. But I don't see what's so impressive about my hero analysis, it's just a hobby. Aizawa looked at him questioningly. You know I'm not easily impressed, but after reading your notes on me, I've already requested new support items based on them. Izuku's eyes widened, and he practically vibrated with excitement. Wait, are you really using my ideas? Oh, which ones did you decide to use? He grabbed his notebook from his backpack. Did you ask for the glider suit, the built-in moisturizing goggles, or maybe the mask to protect against tear gas or spicy fumes? Aizawa's eyes widened at Izuku's speed. This kid doesn't seem to grasp how impressive and valuable his notes are if he's giving me examples that could counter my. Wait, did he say built-in moisturizing goggles? Aizawa raised his hand to silence Izuku's muttering. What did you say about moisturizing goggles? I didn't hear about that. Ah, let me show you. It's at the end of the notebook. I write down all the support items that come to mind after I finish the notes on someone or if I don't have any space to put them on their pages. The rest of the journey passed with Izuku explaining some of his ideas for support items, and Aizawa considered not letting Powerloader get near these notes. The taxi dropped them off outside U.A., and Izuku couldn't believe his luck. He stood in front of what he hoped would be his school in just over a year. Aizawa motioned for him to follow, and Izuku exerted all his willpower not to get lost sightseeing. A few minutes later, they arrived at the principal's office. Don't be too daunted by my boss Midoriya, he may seem overly enthusiastic, but he's a good individual. Izuku glanced at him questioningly. Why hesitate to say individual? Opening the door, he was greeted by an unusual sight, an office filled with numerous books, screens, and office furniture. At the rear of the office sat a large desk and an unexpected occupant. A mouse? That's correct. It's me, capable of being a dog, a mouse, or even a bear, but more importantly, I'm Principal Nezu. The principal exclaimed cheerfully. And you must be Midoriya Izuku. Aizawa couldn't stop talking about you. That's not entirely accurate, Aizawa interjected with a weary sigh. As Midoriya said, Nezu is the principal of UA. He requested to speak with you urgently and wouldn't stop pestering me until I brought you here. He's delusional, Midoriya, I assure you. Sleep deprivation is causing him to hallucinate. Nezu chuckled playfully. But disregarding Aizawa's fantasies, I truly wanted to meet you, the kid who saved a seasoned professional hero. Aizawa grunted. And the brilliant mind behind these. Nezu retrieved notes belonging to Eraserhead and Present Mic from one of his drawers. These notes are truly remarkable, Midoriya. Thank you, sir. Izuku bowed. Don't be so formal, just call me Nezu. The principal's cheerful demeanor suddenly turned serious. I wanted to discuss with you the potential dangers posed by your notes. Izuku's eyes widened at Nezu's words. I don't understand, Principal Nezu. These notes not only offer ways to aid heroes but also contain strategies to counter them, he remarked, holding up a page from Present Mic's notes. He only utilizes his quirk for brief periods, 15 seconds at most, before requiring another breath. The amplifier around his neck appears sturdy, but there's a removable plate underneath. A solid strike there could significantly reduce his power by at least 30%. The most effective method to defeat him would be through gas, for instance, ammonia, easily obtainable, could block his throat temporarily. Nezu paused, scrutinizing Izuku. Now you comprehend why I needed to speak with you, correct? Izuku's complexion turned pale, his eyes widening. He had never viewed his notes as perilous until Principal Nezu read them aloud, elucidating the gravity of his writings. I have much to learn, Fukusa-sensei. I must relocate all my notebooks to Minato's cave as soon as possible. Your expression tells me you grasp the peril posed by these notebooks. Yes, if any of those notebooks were to fall into the hands of a villain, it could pose a significant danger to the heroes. Rest assured, Principal Nezu, I will ensure that my notes remain secure, Izuku affirmed with determination. I must apologize for involving you in this matter, but it's imperative to address the potential risk of these notebooks falling into villainous hands. Now, moving on, I have a few questions for you, if you don't mind, Nezu said, his cheerful demeanor returning. Firstly, Aizawa informed me of your aspiration to become a hero. May I inquire about the reasons behind this decision? When I was younger, I envisioned myself saving people with a smile, much like All Might. Though my aspirations haven't strayed far from that sentiment, my goal now is to instill hope in those facing adversity. I want them to believe that no matter the challenge, I will do everything within my power to aid them, Izuku explained with a gentle smile. Are you aiming to become the next symbol of peace? Nezu inquired curiously. No, achieving peace is a collective effort, and All Might's era of peace was a testament to that. Instead, I aspire to become a symbol of hope, Izuku clarified, feeling a flush of embarrassment. That's a remarkable dream, Midoriya. I hope you'll consider joining you. In the coming months, Nezu remarked warmly. Yes, Principal Nezu, I plan to take the entrance exam next year, Izuku confirmed, receiving a nod of approval from Nezu. That's excellent news. I look forward to having you as a student. Now, onto the matter of your abilities. According to this file, your quirk manifested when you were 8, which is quite unusual. Could you provide a brief explanation of your energy manipulation quirk? Nezu inquired, retrieving a folder from his desk. Essentially, my quirk allows me to manipulate the energy within me, which I refer to as Chakra, shaping it to suit my needs, Izuku explained succinctly. So, the walls Aizawa mentioned were created by manipulating your energy to meld with the floor and form barriers, Nezu deduced, to which Izuku nodded in confirmation. Yes, that's the basic concept, Izuku affirmed. I'm impressed by your proficiency with your quirk at such a young age. Your abilities certainly played a crucial role in protecting Aizawa, Nezu praised, segueing into a proposal for a game of chess. Would you care for a game before you leave? I have some ideas I'd like to discuss, Nezu suggested eagerly, while Aizawa looked on with skepticism. I would be delighted to play, Principal, Izuku accepted, as Aizawa excused himself to attend to other matters, leaving Izuku with a lingering sense of concern. 45 minutes later, Aizawa returned to Nezu's office, finding the principal seated at his desk, deep in thought. Where's Midoriya? Aizawa inquired. He departed about 5 minutes ago. He assured me you needn't fret, he's capable of getting home safely, Nezu replied. Aizawa grunted in acknowledgement. I presented him with a few proposals. Considering I summoned him here and requested he keep his hobby clandestine, I felt obliged to offer something in return, Nezu explained. Aizawa narrowed his eyes skeptically. I have a bad feeling about this. Nonsense, Nezu dismissed. Midoriya will visit twice weekly. One session will focus on honing his analytical abilities with me, and the other, with you, to refine his combat skills. Aizawa was about to protest, but Nezu anticipated his objection. I understand your curiosity about his abilities, particularly his quirk, energy manipulation. Midoriya's insights are limited, but I assure you, his cooperation is voluntary. You want to keep him under surveillance, Aizawa accused. Nezu chuckled. Midoriya is already aware. However, it's a unique opportunity. He trusts us to an extent and has taken a leap of faith. I won't betray that trust. Aizawa grumbled, you're hypocritical. You coerce me into this arrangement. A necessary compromise. Besides, you're intrigued by Midoriya's skills as well, Nezu countered. 1 hour weekly, at my discretion. I'll need his contact information, Aizawa requested. Nezu handed him a piece of paper. You already have it, he added knowingly. As Aizawa headed for the door, he noticed a chessboard set for a new game. How long did it take for you to defeat him? He asked. Nezu chuckled. We ended in a draw. Aizawa stumbled out of the office, his mind racing. He drew with Nezu in chess? As he left, the echoing laughter of Nezu lingered in his ears, leaving him with much to ponder. Zuko strolled homeward, bidding farewell to Kirishima and Ashido, eager to unwind on his day off from rigorous training and studies. Following months of guidance from Aizawa-sensei and Principal Nezu, they advised him to indulge in relaxation at least once every fortnight. Reflecting on the whirlwind of recent months, He realized his life had taken a positive turn since rescuing Aizawa-sensei. Despite his newfound analytical prowess under Principal Nezu's tutelage, some UA faculty seemed uneasy about his sessions with the principal, fearing corruption or disruption to the natural order. Yet, Izuku couldn't fathom their apprehension. He relished the challenging exams Principal Nezu devised, each presenting heroic dilemmas demanding solutions with minimal casualties. Though some scenarios mirrored the grim reality of war, drawing insights from Minato's diaries grounded him, instilling a prayerful hope to never face such horrors firsthand. As for Aizawa, their initial encounters were fraught with tension, Izuku mistaking the teacher's grumpiness for animosity over unauthorized training plans. Yet, subsequent sessions unveiled Aizawa's humor masked by fatigue and disinterest, fostering an unexpected camaraderie. It was during one such session that Aizawa became the third person, excluding his mother, privy to Izuku's abilities, an odd revelation during a sparring match that defied gravity. Recollection. Izuku swiftly maneuvered to his right, narrowly evading Eraserhead's capture scarf. Admittedly, the pro hero exhibited remarkable prowess in combat, displaying minimal openings or wasted motions. While Izuku could employ his Hiraishin and other techniques for a more formidable defense, these training sessions aimed to enhance his hand-to-hand combat skills. Assessing the pro hero's next move, Izuku detected an opportunity on his right flank. He deftly sidestepped the assault and utilized his chakra to augment his agility, swiftly closing the distance. However, before he could strike, Aizawa's knee surged towards his face with alarming speed. Leaping upward to avoid the imminent blow, Izuku found himself perched on the ceiling, attempting to regain his composure. "I should have anticipated that maneuver," he muttered aloud, his breath slightly labored. "It wasn't a mere feint, Midoriya. You genuinely caught me off guard, but my instincts outpaced yours, prompting my response," remarked Aizawa, intrigued by the sight of the adolescent nonchalantly stationed on the ceiling. "Descend, we still have 35 minutes of training." Employing his quirk to compel Izuku's descent, Aizawa was met with astonishment when no such effect transpired, prompting a quizzical raise of his eyebrows. During their initial sessions, Izuku exercised caution regarding Eraserhead's abilities. Each time he utilized his own powers, whether scaling walls or enhancing his physical capabilities, he remained vigilant for any interference from the hero's quirk, striving to deactivate any such influence. Yet, his focus was now consumed by devising a strategy to land a blow on the elusive pro during their 20-minute scrimmage, rendering him oblivious to Aizawa's application of his quirk. "Midoriya. Descend, we must converse," called out Aizawa, snapping Izuku out of his reverie. Turning to face the pro hero, who sported a tousled mane and narrowed crimson eyes fixated on him, Izuku's apprehensive gaze shifted downward, scrambling for a plausible explanation. Observing the teenager's discomfort, Aizawa opted against pressing further. "I sense your reluctance to divulge details about your quirk, Midoriya, and I won't pry. However, comprehension of its basic mechanics would greatly benefit your training. You needn't delve into specifics, just a rudimentary explanation will suffice," implored Aizawa, his gaze softening as it met Izuku's fatigued eyes. "Your actions often defy the parameters outlined in your quirk registration as energy manipulation, and I find myself baffled by the ineffectiveness of my quirk against yours." Nodding thoughtfully, Izuku considered the prospect of confiding in his mentor. A sense of trust began to blossom within him, albeit tinged with skepticism. Yet, before he could fully embrace this newfound trust, he knew he must test its bounds. "What would you say if I asked whether a quirkless individual can become a hero?" Aizawa queried, perplexed by the question's relevance but intrigued nonetheless. "I'd respond that they would require extensive training and reliance on support items," Izuku replied, attentively observing the pro hero. "Are you being truthful? Do you genuinely believe a quirkless person can be a hero?" Izuku inquired with earnestness. "Consider my quirk. It merely nullifies others' quirks, offering no enhancement to my physical abilities. Yet, I combat numerous adversaries with only training and experience. Thus, I believe it's feasible for a quirkless individual to become a hero, albeit with rigorous physical training and support items," Aizawa asserted. Izuku was elated by Aizawa's affirmation, having longed to hear such encouragement. Despite possessing chakra and techniques, he had always harbored a desire for validation independent of his quirk status. "I am deeply grateful for your words, Aizawa-sensei," Izuku exclaimed, his admiration evident. "Though I possess abilities now, being born quirkless, your affirmation holds immense significance for me." Aizawa, puzzled by Izuku's assertion, probed further. "I've witnessed feats that typically require a quirk. If you prefer not to discuss your quirk, I understand, but there's no need to fabricate." "But I'm not fabricating. My pediatrician has records of my quirk examinations at 4 years old. Even the double joint in my pinky is documented," Izuku explained earnestly, his laughter belying his sincerity. "Assuming I believe you, how do you account for your abilities?" Aizawa pressed, arms crossed expectantly. "It's due to my chakra," Izuku replied, his smile unwavering. He proceeded to recount his journey, from childhood bullying to his training with Fukusa-sensei on Mount Myobakuzen, providing insight into his development as a potential hero. Aizawa initially approached the narrative with skepticism, yet as Izuku divulged more details, Aizawa found himself compelled to believe. Despite Izuku's remarkable storytelling skills, the sincerity in his delivery was unmistakable. "If what you're saying holds truth, why maintain secrecy?" Izuku's expression turned grave. "In our current era, quirks reign supreme. Imagine the societal upheaval if anyone, quirkless or possessing seemingly insignificant quirks, suddenly attained power rivaling top pro heroes. The repercussions would be immense," Aizawa mused, envisioning the chaos. "Now, consider the worst-case scenario, villains obtaining chakra. Chakra, a power accessible to anyone, albeit in varying degrees. Picture a mere thug, armed with a lethal quirk like bladed nails, gaining the ability to unleash fireballs at will." The pro-hero shuddered at the thought of common criminals wielding such formidable power, impervious to his quirk suppression. "Primarily, I conceal it because chakra is inherently perilous. Deplete your chakra, and you succumb, plain and simple. My teacher provided comprehensive guidance on chakra control and comprehension," Izuku disclosed. Aizawa was speechless, inexplicably trusting every word Izuku uttered. From his narrative to the rationale behind concealing his abilities, the dangers chakra posed were evident. It was imperative to prevent its proliferation. "I appreciate your candor, Midoriya. You're wise to guard your abilities. Besides myself, who else knows about your chakra?" Aizawa inquired. "My mother is aware and advised secrecy. Additionally, my trustworthy friend Kirishima Eijiro knows, though he may not fully grasp the gravity of it. I plan to confide in Ashido Mina, equally dependable but perhaps not as discerning," Izuku chuckled, scratching his head. "Sharing with close friends is acceptable, but exercise caution in divulging to others. You're aware of the potential consequences if knowledge of this power were to spread," Aizawa cautioned, observing Izuku's resolve as he moved to the opposite end of the arena. "Now, demonstrate your abilities. I want to assess your capabilities." "It could pose a risk, sensei. Your quirk doesn't nullify my techniques, and your combat style revolves around leveling the playing field." Izuku expressed concern. "Fear not, Midoriya. I won't hold back my assaults either. As a professional hero, I possess more than one skill up my sleeve," Izuku assured, retrieving 2 of his 3-bladed kunai from a pouch and assuming position on the opposite side of the arena. Both contenders stood poised, anticipating the other's move. Moments later, Aizawa sprinted towards Izuku with an unprecedented velocity. He wasn't holding back, Izuku noted, utilizing his chakra to match Aizawa's speed, and hurling a kunai towards him. Yet, Aizawa effortlessly sidestepped the attack. "Your tactics are too predictable, Midoriya," Aizawa remarked as Izuku vanished in a verdant blur. Aizawa glimpsed Izuku reappear behind him, snatching the kunai midair and delivering a kick to his side. "Your technique won't catch me off guard," Aizawa retorted, deflecting Izuku's strike with his capture scarf. However, Izuku vanished once more, leaving Aizawa to ponder his next move as Izuku descended with a punch from above. "Impressive," Aizawa thought with a smirk. Flashback concludes. 3 months have flown by since that day. Aizawa-sensei increased our training sessions to 3 times a week, claiming it's for my improvement, but I suspect he relishes devising new evasive maneuvers to outmaneuver me, Izuku reminisced, sensing a threat and evading an attack instinctively. Facing his assailant, Izuku encountered a gargantuan green sludge with malevolent yellow eyes. Ah, an invisible combatant with remarkable reflexes. I merely require your body, and the pain will be fleeting, the sludge villain taunted with a sinister grin. Apologies, but I have plans for dinner with my mother. She's preparing katsudon, a rarity in our household. Perhaps we can arrange this for another time? Izuku proposed, assuming a defensive stance. I prefer my victims silent and compliant, the sludge villain retorted, lunging at Izuku, who vanished from sight. Where are you? The villain demanded, before a flurry of shurikens pierced his liquid form from behind. Remarkable. Your quirk defies conventional logic. Bravo, Izuku complimented. Do not mock me, young one. The sludge villain's form morphed into tendrils, lashing out at Izuku, who swiftly vanished once more. Cease your evasions, you rascal. A voice interrupted his disappearance, causing Izuku to glance upwards. I sincerely wasn't mocking you. With a quirk as versatile as yours, it's a shame you turned to villainy instead of embracing heroism, Izuku remarked, forming seals with his hands. Wind style, vacuum bomb. He expelled a massive sphere of air from his mouth, aimed directly at the sludge villain. What in the? The sludge villain's sentence was cut short as he exploded into myriad pieces of sludge, scattering throughout the tunnel. Blast it! How will I gather all this? Ah, there's sludge on my shoes. Suddenly, the sewer lid on the street burst open, and Izuku assumed a fighting stance once more as a booming laugh echoed. Everything is under control now. Why, you ask? Because I am here. A towering figure emerged from the sewer. Fear not, young man, I shall handle this. All Might's confidence wavered upon seeing the scene, a young man amidst a sludge-covered tunnel. What transpired here? Did you cause this, young man? All Might. I apologize, I didn't realize you were in pursuit. The villain attacked me, and I acted in self-defense. Izuku's mind raced as he faced his idol. Ha ha ha, fret not, young one. I commend your resourcefulness, this villain proved to be quite cunning, All Might praised, impressed by Izuku's actions. Overwhelmed with joy, Izuku struggled to contain his excitement. Thank you, All Might. Oh, could you please sign this? Izuku retrieved his notebook, bowing deeply as he offered it to All Might, who graciously obliged, signing with practiced ease while Izuku fought off fainting spells. There you go, young man. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must find a container for this villain before delivering it to the authorities, All Might stated, scanning the area for a suitable receptacle. What about those water bottles? Izuku suggested, pointing to the bag in All Might's hand. Good thinking, young man. All Might emptied the water onto the street and began filling the bottles with sludge. Allow me to assist you, Izuku offered, crouching down to help. After a few minutes, they successfully capped the bottles, completing the task. Thank you, kind sir, for your assistance. I must depart to deliver this wrongdoer to the authorities before continuing my patrol. Remember, the fight against crime never ceases. All Might turned with a hearty laugh, but before he could leave, Izuku intervened. Wait, All Might, that container doesn't appear entirely secure. Please allow me to ensure there's no chance of escape. Izuku produced a small parchment from his pouch, wrapping it around the container and affixing a paper tag labeled seal. Whispering seal, the parchment tightened around the container. There, once the cell is prepared, simply remove the tag, and the parchment will release itself, Izuku explained cheerfully. Observing in silence, All Might was impressed. Whatever technique this kid used, it certainly secured the container. Now, I needn't rush to the police station. His quirk is quite peculiar, he dismantled the villain and now sealed the container like this. Once again, I am grateful for your assistance, Young man. Before I depart, may I ask, what are your aspirations for the future? Izuku's eyes widened at the question, his response almost automatic. I aspire to become a hero like yourself, All Might. All Might grinned wider. I eagerly await the day we can call each other colleagues. Keep up the excellent work. With that, All Might leapt away into the distance. All Might called me a colleague. Well, a future colleague, Izuku mused, before turning serious and scanning the area. Satisfied no one was around, he leapt into the air, exclaiming in joy. Yes, yes, yes. After retrieving his shurikens, Izuku utilized Hiraishin to quickly return home. Though he typically enjoyed walking, today he had urgent news to share with his mother. It's not every day the #1 hero gives you his autograph and refers to you as a future colleague. Thus marked the first encounter between the current symbol of peace and the future symbol of hope. Folks, this concludes the second segment of our program. Please do consider subscribing to my channel Anime Dreams for further enriching content. Much appreciation.